Welcome to Criminal Gines, a comedic true crime watch-along podcast where we watch Criminal Minds, all 15 seasons, and discuss the true crime that can be linked, however indirectly, to the episode. We're your hosts, Stacey Johnson and Veronica Shea, and this week we're joined by Megan Ostrike in discussing Season 2, Episode 11, Sex, Birth, Death.
I look tired. I look tired.
Megan's gonna kill herself. I look tired.
I look tired.
Thank you for coming back on episode 33.
I'm back. Can't get enough of me.
Season 2, episode 11, Sex, Birth, Death. It's our episode set in Washington, D.C. Sex workers are out roaming the streets, and it's intercut with someone writing a story about killing prostitutes. In the morning light, a man attacks and kills a sex worker and cuts her hair off. Reed takes public transport into work and is stopped by a sophomore in high school, baby Anton Yelchin.
Sweet baby Anton.
Sweet baby Anton, who knows who Reed is because he has seen him lecture, and he starts up a conversation. He asks really weird questions about true crime and graphic novels, specifically about killing prostitutes. And then he asks what it would mean if someone was stabbing sex workers and cutting off their hair. Reed is like, okay, something's off. And he tries to get him to come into the BAU with him to talk to his coworkers, give him a tour. Won't it be fun? And Anton runs off. He's like, I gotta go to school. Bye. Reed runs to work and calls the Metro Police asking about any Jane Does who've been stabbed and had their hair cut off. And they're like, funny you should mention it. Just this morning, that exact thing happened, plus 3 months ago. So, Reed thinks he has let a potential serial killer get away. 2 sex workers have fit this profile so far. The most recent one that was found that morning had the word help carved into her torso.
Yikes.
But the cuts, I know, is cute.
Ooh.
The cuts are shallow with hesitation marks. And then with that message, the team thinks that it does fit with the young kid. Morgan and Prentice go talk to some of the working girls and show them the drawing that Reed did of the kid, which is, by the way, a Matthew Gay Gubler drawing. That is how he draws. Yeah. And they said that they've seen this kid around, but as far as they know, he's never been with anyone. Back at the BAU, a congresswoman stops by to see Hotch. She's heard about the potential serial killer targeting the sex workers and wants to make sure that Hotch and his team aren't going to publicize the murders because she has spearheaded a bill to help crime in DC, and in a few days, she's supposed to have a press conference on the steps of the Capitol where she's going to announce that crime rates are down. And Hotch is like, LOL.
That's the priority, sure, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, babes, if we don't alert the media, women are going to be in danger. And she's like, do not care.
Well, I think she's not necessarily considering sex workers as people.
Sure. So
maybe a less than stellar perspective, but
she's like, Hachi Potch. Just remember, if you want to run the FBI one day.
Is that his given name? Given
Hachi
to
Potch?
him by you.
Yeah.
It is
Hachi
now.
Potch.
Yeah. That's what everyone
Write it
calls
down.
him. Hachi Potch.
Hachi
She's like,
Potch.
if you want to run the FBI one day, it's a lot more about politics than it is about law enforcement. And he's like, what is up with this lady? Watches her walk out, and she stops by and sees Prentice, and she says hi to Prentice, and they are very friendly. And he is like, what is happening? Meanwhile, Reed and Garcia are doing some profiler magic, and they track down Anton Yelchin. He's at home typing away his little creepy kill the whores story. When the team gets there, he explains to them that he's writing a graphic novel about Jack the Ripper. Reed asks how he knew the specifics to a murder that hadn't been publicized yet, and Anton was like, well, I didn't kill her, but I really wanted to. Okay.
Cool.
He explains that he came across the body while walking around the city. Sometimes he'll do that, and he'll stay out all night just walking around, because his mom is a doctor and a teacher, and she works crazy hours, and he's pretty much left unsupervised because he's very responsible, except for the
Walking around late at night
with the ladies.
Fantasies of killing.
It's fine. So he tells Reed and Morgan that he fantasizes not about having sex with the sex workers, but about killing them. So he sought out Reed to see if he could get help, but he got scared and ran away. They get permission from his mom to keep him overnight to do a psychological evaluation on him. And he makes Reed promise to tell him whatever the test reveals about him. And Reed's like, okay. Hotch, meanwhile, gathers the team to create a working profile.
Hachi-Pachi?
Hachi-Pach.
Hachi-Pach.
Gathers the team. Yeah. To create a working profile in case the kid is not their unsub. Hotch is wound much tighter than normal and wants 0 people to talk about the kid, no matter how much the profile points to him. So they talk about the cutting of the hair and how it could be a way to take away some of the women's sexual power. Yes. And also a very long word.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Damn.
The unsub is no longer cooling off between kills and is increasingly angry at the police. Hotch mentions that in 2 days, the congresswoman is going to announce DC crime-free, and Prentice was like, oh yeah, what did she want with you the other day? And he was like, that's a private conversation. So she was like, oh, right, sorry, my bad. Brand new to the team, no big. What they do know is the kid is not the unsub because he was being held overnight. Reed makes sure that Anton Yelchin can still get his psychological review because he deserves to know what's happening with him. And Gideon is the one who meets with him. And he then recommends to the kid's mom that he is institutionalized because he's experiencing homicidal fantasies that are directly linked with sexual impulse and release.
Oof.
He relates it to alcoholism and asks her to consider what happens to someone fighting psychotic urges. She refuses to hospitalize her son and says she'll just make sure that he sees the best doctors on an outpatient basis. Yikesies.
Yikes.
I mean, if the FBI, BAU people are sitting there being like, hey, you should probably do this, I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
So many acronyms coming at you in that.
So many
Thank you.
letters.
So many letters.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I do think if that many people are coming at you saying, hey, your kid, that's no dice on that one. That one might be a dud.
Yeah.
Might want to
Take
seek
the
help.
L. Yeah.
Whoopsies. So Hotch calls Prentice into his office and asks her what the congresswoman wanted with her and asks if she tipped the congresswoman off about the case. And Emily calls him out, being like, hey, I'm sorry if I touched a nerve in the field by mentioning her, but I don't deserve this.
Don't come for my integrity. How dare.
Yeah. She's like, in what world? And he was like, look, you mysteriously got on this team right after one of my team members was involved in a questionable shooting, and I'm not going to tolerate a political agenda. And she was like, great.
Wasn't the last time I was here, there was a mole? He's concerned about another mole?
Yes.
Many moles.
It's just
so paranoid.
Gotta see a dermatologist about those moles. So that's so stupid. And she was like, babe, yeah, I hate politics. My mother is a career politician, and I think it tears families apart, and I think it damages people. And she was like, so if you don't have any other questions for me, I'd like to go back to finding who's killing these women.
Girl, you tell him.
Bam. Get out. Reed goes to find out how the evaluation went, and Gideon tells him that it's not a matter of if Anton Yelchin is going to kill someone, it's when. So, back at the Yelchin household, the mom goes to talk to him.
Quick question. What is this character's name?
I don't even remember.
Nathan?
I'll never refer to him as
Something
such,
like
but hysterical
Yeah.
that we're calling it the Yelchin house.
It's Anton Yelchin.
That's Anton.
So his mom goes to talk to him, but he is gone because that's what he does. So Morgan and Reed are now out on the streets looking for him. The mom found his creepy porn. He had a porn magazine that he's taped autopsy photos into.
Ooh, My
Yeah.
God. Not to kink shame, but I do think there's a line.
It's so Morgan and Reed are out there looking for him, and we find out that Reed feels responsible for the kid because he knows what it's like to be afraid of your own mind. And then Morgan gets a phone call because another body has been found, but this time there's no message and the hair has not been cut. The cops find Anton, and he's apparently been sitting in a church for the last 4 hours, but he doesn't really have an alibi. No one has seen him there, so they have to bring him in as a suspect. He tells Reed that he's just been sitting there thinking that the only way for him to save people's lives in the future is to kill himself. So back at the BAU, they decide that this last kill is too sloppy. The unsub is devolving. It is not Anton. The last body is a message in and of itself because it was right across the street from the Capitol building. The Congresswoman's press conference hasn't been announced yet, which means the unsub must work in or around the Capitol and has access to this kind of insider information. Hotch and JJ pull together a press conference that he holds right across the street from the Capitol, where he tells everyone about the Congresswoman's future press conference and about the serial killer all in one breath. He's like, here we go, lady.
He's like, unleash the beast.
Yeah.
Get it all out there. Man.
Reed and Garcia are narrowing down advocacy groups that this guy could belong to, low status, family values kind of stuff. And Hotch has Emily bring in some of the working girls to describe the man they think fits the profile to the Congresswoman to see if she knows him. She is subhumanly rude to these women. She's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But their description, plus Reed's list of lobbying groups, leads the Congresswoman to name the man who runs a group called Decency Watch, Ronald Weems.
Yee.
He is at his house
Are there good Ronalds?
Weasley. McDonald's.
Sometimes. Creepy.
But good burgers.
Jury's still out on Ronald's. Ronald's everywhere. Suspect.
Ron. Swanson.
Both
We got
you
one.
guys.
There it is.
That's good. That's good.
So, Ronald Weems is at his house writing what appears to be a manifesto about eradicating sex work. He leaves to go back to work. His wife is like, ugh, why are you doing this? The team swings by and starts to talk to her. They just want to look in his office, and she was like, you should leave. And then they start profiling her, and they're like, did he start making you play out weird sex fantasies? When it stopped a month ago, were you relieved? You know he's not helping us with this investigation. She like closes the door, and they're like, you've been happy to have him leave the house at odd hours, and when he comes back, he feels like the man you married. And then she like finally lets them in. And it's like, dude, let them in. You know your husband's a creep. Let them the fuck in.
It's a day that she must have just been waiting for. She had to know.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So now the entire team is out on the street where all the sex work is happening, and they're going person to person showing Ronald's photo, trying to find him. He approaches a sex worker who has already been shown this photo, and she starts blowing her rape whistle, and the team comes running. They get their guy. They release Anton, and Reed reminds him that he is not an unsub. Mm-hmm. You know, he says, the fact that you have sought me out to try and not harm people is more important than the part of you that fantasizes about it. Anton tells Reed that his mom is going to have him hospitalized in the morning, and Reed's like, that could be a good thing, you know, like, we'll figure this out. But Anton's on the street going home. He approaches a sex worker for a date. It does not go well, and he pulls out a knife.
One last wild night.
One last night of freedom. Pulls out a knife. Reed is leaving work with Garcia and gets a phone call. Garcia drives him to the motel where this woman is crying, and Anton is bleeding out on the bed because he's slashed his wrists. We can hear an ambulance on its way as he and Garcia work to tie off the blood, and the medics come in and are able to save him and bring him to a hospital. And now Reed is afraid that because he saved Anton's life, he's afraid that more lives are now at risk in the future. And
it's a moral dilemma.
The episode.
That's
very,
very light, very upbeat as per usual on the Criminal
very
Minds.
upbeat. I like this episode. It's one of my favorite episodes.
I had seen 2 episodes of Criminal Minds before doing the podcast. Now I've seen 3.
Ooh,
I know. I do like that as a moral question of, can somebody be reformed if they have these thoughts and they are seeking out help? I agree with Reed that that's the more important thing than the actual thoughts you're having. But then the way that it resolves at the end is just,
I mean, it's like a paraphilia. It's like we've talked about before. It's like pedophilia, right? Like there's no cure for it. It's whether or not and really when you're going to act on it. And especially when it's a sexual release, you're going to act on it. And that's why I think serial murder, they can never get out. Whereas like murderers, usually it's like, oh, you're just going to kill the one person. It's the circumstance you found yourself in. Mm-hmm. Serial murderers are not that.
I wonder, again, the science of this, but I wonder if there's a way to like rewire your brain to no longer associate those feelings with that act. But the time it takes to do that, and also the people having to come forward and say, I'm having these kind of thoughts, like that's rare.
And also testing, like ultimately you'd be doing a lot of testing on rewiring the brain. And depending on how painful it is, you're expecting a lot of people to be truthful about if it's working or not.
The neuroscience of that is fascinating, but I do wonder, I think that just comes from my like optimism, the hopefulness of like, I wish we could treat and help the people who have thoughts like this. However, tall order.
Yeah. I'm more like, let's study them.
Yeah.
Let's talk to them. That's who I am.
And have always been.
I know. What about you,
And that's how we found ourselves here.
Well, it kind of made me start thinking about, like, who was it that said, like, pedophilia or paraphilia, whatever it was like some, like you said, it's wiring in the brain, right? Mm-hmm. It's something that people argue that they were born with. Necessarily, whether I agree with that and whatever. But then that made me start to think about like conversion therapy, and like they literally did try to rewire the brains and that did not work. So I'm like,
that's a fair point.
I wonder what the science would be on its because a paraphilia is not your sexuality, right? I do think we should be careful, but that is what it was.
Are you saying?
Yeah. But that is what they thought, you know, that homosexuality was
related
like that.
All right, Margaret Thatcher, keep
it together, guys. But
okay.
I think there is something that happens, and it's just like how a sociopath is created or a psychopath, right? Like how there's something that happens at the right time with your brain chemistry that's like, oh, now I'm attracted to dead bodies. Oh, now I am attracted to children. Oh, now I am attracted, you know. I think there's a point in time where something happens that rewires your brain. And I don't know that you can, with around sexual impulses, I don't think there is a rewiring after that.
I just don't know. It's an interesting question, but I do think that argument of conversion therapy is a good one. That
or like
try as you might.
Therapy.
Yeah,
exactly.
It doesn't always.
I don't know. Honestly,
and
I have
Lord
no
knows,
clue.
Sweet Anton Yelchin, baby Anton Yelchin, wasn't convinced.
No, he knew.
He knew. He was in it for the long haul.
And then Toyota saved future women. What car was it? Jeep.
It was Jeep.
Yeah, that's why Megan's here, Stacey. She asked for this episode because of Anton, and only because of Anton.
I love it. Speaking of cutie patooties. I saw it in and I went for it.
I liked it.
I like it.
Gimme more.
I liked this one better than my last time.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see it.
Quizzical, skeptical a little bit. Just a little.
He's rolling his eyes. He's like,
I like it.
I took too. Like 20 photos and all of them were blurry. And I was like, well, this is the best one. This is what we're going with.
That's
God chose.
God chose.
All right, Stace, give it. Let's go.
I'm going to say 4.
All right.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's just solid. Solid all around.
Great. Megs?
I'll go 4 as well. I like...
Oh.
I think this less teeth. He's really into showing his teeth, which
he has
is a lot for me.
Great teeth.
They're great, but like, we get it. So I liked that this showed a little bit more personality. There's a man behind those teeth.
There's a man.
It's just teeth. No, it's just disembodied teeth.
You know I love a judgmental bitch. So like seeing that, I was like, oh, he's got pretty nasty things to say about people, and I want to hear those things.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a 3.
All right, that's fair. I was going between a 3 and 4, honestly.
Is it because there's not that much teeth?
I'm a toothy bitch.
toothy bitch.
Toothy bitch.
I'm going to make you a shirt that says I'm
Oh
a
my
toothy
gosh,
bitch.
please.
Hachi Pachi Toothy bitch.
Oh my god. This is kind of amazing.
Yeah, I'm
Merch!
just.
Now you have merch.
I think also we have to have merch that says "fuck Ted Bundy" because Amanda says it in every Our Buddy Bundy.
It's so funny. We have to.
Yeah, I think it's a 3. It's a solid shamar. It's just like an everyman, you know. It's just.
Does it ever go
An everyday
below
shamar.
3? That feels
Yes.
sacrilege.
Yeah. No, it has.
Yeah.
It has gone
Wow.
between
We've given him a 1 before. Alyssa likes to give him a 0.
a 0. She really
Melissa.
dislikes Shamar.
She really dislikes.
Whoa.
But he usually hovers around a 3 or a 4.
Good
Unless
for
the
him.
gays are on 5.
Wow.
5 on 5.
Wow.
But
Love
good job,
it.
Shamar.
Yeah,
Good.
Shamar. Okay, let's get into it. So today we're going to talk about Danilo Restivo, the Italian serial killer. Okay.
One of yours, Megs.
One of mine.
Picture it. Sicily. April 3rd. Coincidentally,
Happy
also
birthday,
my
Stacey!
birthday! Yay me, but not
Wow.
yay for Italy, because in 1972, Danilo Restivo was born at the age...
Wait, you share your
You
birthday
share
with
a
him.
birthday?
I do share my
We
birthday.
have to tell Anastasia because they do the birthday share.
Oh, God. That's right, on the Pod Serial Killer podcast. Oh, my God.
So you both are Aries?
Mhm.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
this Italian man?
Is an Aries. Well,
Good
yipes.
Lord.
See, it means nothing.
Gary.
Correct.
No, you're all murderers.
Just give us the right circumstances.
Oh, absolutely.
Tempers.
Well, at right. At the age of 10, him and his
Wait.
family. Anyways, so at the age of 10, Danilo Restivo's family moved to the city of Potenza, where his father was actually director of the National Library there.
Ooh.
And I know, what an exciting job. The local people, when asked, spoke of Restivo as having some odd behavior and was prone to this like strange behavior.
Which, as an Italian person, I'll say, if they're reporting that he's got strange behavior,
This is bad.
that's next level.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Well,
big weirdo.
Big
Yeah.
weirdo. And they'd never call you out on it.
Oh no. This strange behavior. Basically, he would attempt to arrange dates with girls by claiming to have a present for them. He harassed people who rejected him with phone calls in which he would play a soundtrack to the movie Profondo Rosso, which basically meant deep red in English. And it was a film about a serial killer who plays a melody before every murder. Odd
You know,
behavior? I think so.
If I'm gonna be murdered, I would love it if there was classical music played beforehand.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What a cool way to
It
do
Well,
it.
depending on the classical music.
Mahler.
Chopin.
Wild. Yeah, that's very light.
I would
Vivaldi.
not want to be killed to
Wild.
Tchaikovsky. I never want to hear
That's
that Nutcracker
intense.
ever
Imagine the
fucking
stabbing.
again.
Oh my god. To the rat king
Dun, dun,
dance.
dun, dun, dun,
Oh god.
I'd be like, kill
Oh.
me faster now.
Oh god.
Debussy. That'd be good.
That's so
Claire de Lune as like you're going out.
Yo-Yo Ma.
nice.
If we get one,
Oh,
I'm picking.
the
I'm
Bach
picking
cello,
Yo-Yo.
the Bach cello
Yes.
suite number 5.
Yes, yes.
It's good.
Restivo was known to, I don't know how to transition back into this. So anyways, Restivo, he was known to police who did believe him to be responsible for 9 incidences in which women had their hair cut. This behavior came to a full head in 1986 when he was found to have tied 2 children to a tree and was accused of cutting one with a knife. The police didn't actually get involved because the parents were able to resolve this matter between themselves.
What?
Apparently. I do want to know what that conversation looked like.
I
hey,
need to know.
sorry, my kid cut your kid with a knife after tying them to a tree. How can we fix this? Here's some barbecue I'm bringing over.
How old was he at this time?
This was 1986. So he was born in 72, 82, 14. Yeah, so he was 14 at this point.
I thought he was like a man, and then they were like, oh, we figured it out. What?
No, I know. Right?
What?
So,
okay, 14.
Kids will be kids, right?
Obsessed. This freshman in high school that they're like, let's talk about it.
Right.
God.
Right. Well, at the age of 18, he enlisted for his National Army service.
Sure.
During his evaluation, Army doctors said that he had strange attitudes towards sexual behavior, and he was actually turned down from service. Sadistic streak further developed, and in 1992 he was convicted of harassing 5 girls who were his neighbor. One of them was 23-year-old Angela Campocciato, and she had a 10-centimeter lock of her hair cut from her head in a cinema, so in like a movie theater in Italy. Another one of his traits was this hair cutting, and it eventually manifested, they said, into like a full-blown hair fetish. Wow. Now
I don't feel safe.
Right. Well, you
also,
have long ass hair, girl.
10 centimeters feels like a very dramatic way to say 2 inches.
I was going to say it's 2 to 3 inches or something like that. Yeah. Well, around this time, she wasn't the only one. A number of women in Italy complained of being targeted this same way. They didn't give an exact number. A year later, though, he meets 16-year-old Elisa Claps, who was the daughter of a financial guard.
Terrible name. Claps?
I know. Well, just wait. It doesn't end well for her because...
Sorry, Claps.
I know. Friends reported that Claps, Elisa, felt sorry for Restivo, who really appeared lonely and depressed. And she even wrote about this in her diary, complaining about his odd behavior. Despite feeling like this, she eventually agreed to meet up with him at this 15th century church in the middle of this city after Restivo had asked again via phone to go on this date with her. He said that he had a love match with a friend of hers and was needing help, asking for suggestions on how to get with her. So what a ruse, right? I'd be like, can't we just talk over the phone? But whatever, it's cool.
Text me,
Yeah, right. So on Sunday, September 12th in 1993, the 16-year-old Elisa and a friend of hers went to the church. When they got to the church, though, the friend of hers said goodbye to her on the steps and watched Elisa walk in to meet Restivo. When she did not return to her family that night, her older brother called over to Restivo's home. His family claimed that Restivo was out of town due to university essays, and they had no knowledge of where Elisa was. Her brother then went to the church where he discovered that
the priest who was in charge of this facility had to leave out of town suddenly, and he had the only key to the upper part of the church with him. Later on, though, when asked by authorities, the priest refused to let the authorities search that area of the church.
Oh, God.
What? So the priest was like in on it?
Wait, a priest doing bad things?
What?
No.
What?
No, I know.
No.
They never fully dived into that, but it is strange behavior.
That sounds like some.
Right.
I'm going to say it. I don't care what they say. That sounds like some archdiocese interference.
Right. It could also be like they didn't have I don't know how fully the system in Italy works, but it could also be that they didn't have a warrant or justifiable I don't know, however that worked. And the priest was protecting the integrity of whatever. That
Or
could
the
also
priest
be
was
it.
hiding some shit and was like,
Or
oh,
the priest
I need
was
a
hiding
warrant.
some shit up in there. But Claps's disappearance, so Elisa's disappearance created, I know, I hate it. I'm going to just call her Elisa from now on.
I'm now affectionate. I've grown to like Claps.
We've grown to like the last name. Her disappearance created a media frenzy, and there were just wild conspiracy theories all over the place with her whereabouts, and one of them included her running off with this Albanian boyfriend of hers, which later on proved to be untrue. But in 1994, a magistrate refused to issue an arrest warrant for Restivo due to like his involvement because they stated that there wasn't enough evidence to do so. But eventually, 4 months later, he was taken into custody, and an Italian policeman who questioned Restivo described him as cunning and very precise with his answers.
Okay.
I know. Cut to 1996. We hit 1996. So 2 years later, Restivo was eventually tried for giving false information about the whereabouts of Elisa. He testified that he had met Elisa in a curtained area behind the altar before she left, like minutes later after they had met. Tried along with Restivo was the Albanian man and Elisa's close friend who saw her go into the church. Restivo was the only one convicted, and he was sentenced to 20 months imprisonment and lost an appeal. Now, because short sentences are suspended in Italy, Restivo during that time remained free and without restriction on his movement. So, I know. Yeah, we're learning a lot about the justice system in other countries on this show. Yeah. Wow. So because of this, in 2002, Restivo moved to Richmond Park in England, where he ended up living with a partner.
He could leave the country?
He could. His movements were unrestricted.
It's also a very nice area.
I love
It's where Ted Lasso lives.
Oh, yeah. Cute. It is a nice area.
It's very cute.
While across the street from him was his neighbor, Heather Barnett. Restivo actually visited Barnett's flat on November 6th of 2002. After that visit, Barnett claims that her spare key went missing and she had to change the locks. On November 12th of 2002, Barnett was found in the upstairs bathroom by her son and daughter. She had been bludgeoned to death with a hammer. Her breasts had been cut off and laid beside her head, and a 3.5-inch strand of someone else's hair had been placed in her right hand. Furthermore, the front door was unlocked. The car's radio was still playing, and there was signs of a struggle in the house. The children, being hysterical, fled the house when they saw this scene and were comforted. This is the messed up part. They were actually, they ran to Restivo and his partner's home, where they comforted the children and helped them call the police.
What do you think was playing on the radio?
Oh, I hope it was that same thing that he played.
More classical music.
God, probably.
It's probably Wham.
It was what, 1990? What are we at, 5?
This is 2002.
Oh.
2002.
This is 2002.
So
at
it's
this point.
like
And it's England.
Early 2000s. Stacey was a freshman in high school.
that's helpful. So that's like
Sophomore in
Lincoln
high school.
Park.
Ish.
Maybe
Papa
early
Roach.
for Lincoln Park.
Maybe.
Man, and it's England, so what
Offspring.
would it... Maybe,
There you
yeah.
go.
Could be Americana.
Could be. The
Hives.
forensic...
Green Day. The Hive.
Green Day.
Well, the forensic investigation showed that the killer had left minimal traces at the crime scene apart from a green towel stained with blood. Luminol tests showed a trail of bloody shoe prints that ended really quickly, and this was thought to indicate that the killer had changed his shoes before leaving Barnett's house.
Or just like took them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Run across the street, you know?
Right, exactly. Restivo was not immediately a person of interest for the detectives, though. Along with his Italian landlady, he was taken to the police station on the evening of the 12th. And at that interview, he showed a bus ticket to help support his alibi of having been on his way to like a computer course at the time of the murder. Restivo was
Can't
questioned
you
by
just buy a ticket?
Yeah.
That doesn't prove an alibi. That just proves you bought a ticket.
Right, exactly. Well, in his mind, you know.
Okay.
Exactly. Restivo was questioned by the police in mid-2003 and released without charge. In the light of Restivo's connection to Elisa's disappearance and suspicious behavior, detectives, though, still regarded him as the chief suspect. But there wasn't sufficient evidence for prosecution. So now, a couple months later, in March of 2004, he was put under close surveillance, and they used electronic tracking and listening devices, and he was observed on repeated visits to a park where he covertly filmed as he apparently stalked lone women. And then on May 12th of 2004, the surveillance team became really alarmed, and a uniformed patrol person was ordered to stop and search Restivo because he was wearing, they say, although it was a warm day that day, he was wearing a hoodie over his head and waterproof coveralls. And in his car, police found an identical change of clothing, a filleting knife, scissors, a balaclava, and gloves. A balaclava, do we all know what that is?
Yes.
Perfect.
No.
It's an Arctic Monkeys song.
No, it's like, the full face beanies where it's just a slit right there by the eyes.
Okay.
It's one of those. Yeah.
Oh.
And I didn't have to look that up. I already knew what that was.
Good
Thank
job,
you.
Stacey. But it is an Arctic Monkeys song.
Yes.
I thought she was saying baklava. I was like, the dessert?
I like baklava.
I love
I do
baklava.
too.
Have you ever had baklava cheesecake?
No.
It's
Excuse me?
freaking good.
Damn.
It's it had phyllo dough crust and the cheesecake and then all the nuts and stuff. Oh, it was so good. Anyways, in June 2004, a schoolgirl identified Restivo as the man who had cut her hair on a bus. And then in November...
Isn't that assault? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Technically assault?
I'm not sure. Again, this is in England, so unclear.
I feel like it is. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that happen that are technically assault that
We
don't
don't
really get
do anything. Yeah.
reported. But I think that's technically assault. If someone cut my hair, I would punch them in the face.
Oh, I'd lose
Yes.
it. I don't have that
Expensive.
much to lose.
Yeah, that's you can't. You have 3 hairs.
I know.
Well,
don't take them.
Basically, he wasn't arrested until November of 2006.
It's the year I started high school.
Shut
Oh, you get out of here. You're not allowed to be on the podcast anymore.
you.
She said it earlier, so that...
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The year I graduated high school.
And at this time in 2006, his home, when he was rearrested, his home was searched. Police found a lock of hair, trainers he had worn on the day of the murder, and internal traces of blood. But it couldn't be identified due to having been soaked in bleach. So the shoes were soaked in bleach. In 2008, though, new techniques revealed a bloodstained towel left at the murder scene. The green one, do we remember, had a DNA match for Restivo, but he claimed to have left it on a visit to the home of Barnett on November 6th. The evidence was still judged insufficient for a prosecution at this point. Correct. Now we're in March of 2010, so 4 years later. A body was found in the church back in Italy.
I have an answer to the hair question.
Oh, go on.
It's not assault, it's battery.
Oh.
It's a battery in an intentional, unconsented to touching of someone's body.
Yeah, okay.
Just
This is
for
my
any
own.
ladies out there who have some creepy dude cut your hair off while you're on the bus.
I'm interested in what the difference is between assault and battery. Not
Well, according
something
to this,
that you have to. Okay.
an assault is placing someone in fear of death or bodily harm.
Okay.
Which I
And
think
battery
technically
is-
you could say that was bodily harm. I guess it would be hard to argue, but
Not at the risk of causing injury, which I think is
Right.
probably the difference.
so this was intentional, unconsented touching.
Yeah, but no injury.
battery.
Assault is injury, and that.
Yeah.
Okay. Heard. Curious.
Sorry, Stace.
No, that's fine. I was also looking it up. I was
Yeah.
confused
But
too, 'cause I
now-
wanted to know.
We're back with the priest, the sus.
Yeah, so now we're in March of 2010, where the body was found in the church. Forensic DNA analysis initially suggested the body wasn't that of Elisa, but when they went and retested it, it was found to be hers. Now, strands of Elisa's own hair had been cut from her head shortly after her death and placed in her hands. Italian investigation found DNA and other evidence indicating Restivo was the murderer of Elisa. In a move that the prosecutor said was unrelated to the Italian investigation, it was decided then that the evidence against Restivo was sufficient for a prosecution. So it wasn't until the murder of Elisa in Italy was indicated Restivo as the person of interest in this case, that the prosecutor in England was like, okay, I guess that proves it. Now's time to prosecute Restivo for Barnett's murder.
Wild.
2 months. I know.
Damn.
I know. 2 months after the remains of Elisa were found, Restivo was charged with the murder of Barnett. As the case drew international attention, women in the UK and Italy began to report to police cases where a perpetrator matching Restivo's description had secretly cut their hair, either on a bus or in a cinema.
No, thank you.
I know. It was ruled that the English court could hear evidence that Restivo had murdered Elisa in Italy. So they could go and they could hear the evidence in Italy against Restivo and about the similarities of that murder with Barnett in England.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Italian investigators testified to the English court that DNA recovered from the clothes on the body of Elisa matched Restivo's and was consistent with blood. Now, in May of 2011, Restivo was finally found guilty of murdering Heather Barnett. The judge sentenced him to spend the rest of his life in prison. Appealing against the whole life term, Restivo's lawyers argued the judge was wrong to take the Elisa Clapp's murder into account when sentencing Restivo for the murder of Barnett, as Restivo technically wasn't convicted of Elisa's murder at the time. Yeah, interesting. In November of 2012, the Court of Appeal ruled in favor of Restivo and altered his minimum sentence to 40 years. But they were very clear in saying that it was highly improbable that he would ever be released.
Yeah, because, okay, so he wasn't convicted at the time. Sure, okay. Grant the appeal. Now, every time he's up for parole, wouldn't they be like, let me point you towards Italy And this other one he has now since been convicted for. Like,
can I also just say that I lived in Richmond? That was in January of 2012. He went to jail when? I think that timeline is close.
It's close, sis. He was found guilty, so he was on trial in 2011, and he was convicted in 2012. He was arrested in 2006. Yeah.
But was like out and about, or?
They weren't super clear. So I'm going to say yes, because the trial, I'm not sure if he was out on bail or anything like that, but the trial was going on between the years of 2008 and 2011. So the whole 2012,
but Megan, as we've said, you would not have caught his eye. There's not enough hair for him to take.
Yeah, damn. My baldness.
Yet another man.
Yet another.
To disappoint.
God.
That's all I do.
And therein lies Danilo Restivo, who is... Damn. There was a blip where he thinks it. So being in Italy, or being in England right now in prison, he really thinks that he's going to get out, even though England was like, "You're probably never going to get out, sir." And he was like, "Watch me." But there was a point where England was trying to send him back to Italy, and that ended up not going through because he fought it and won in the Court of Appeals, saying that if he went back to Italy, he would die in prison or something like that. Right.
Also, even if he gets out in England, doesn't he have to go right on back to Italy to like serve the rest of his sentence there? What's happening with the Italian
I'm not
government?
Extradition.
Yeah, what's happening here?
I don't know. But yeah, therein lies Restivo.
Pride of Sicily. Sorry, Sicily.
Okay, well, that's wild. Okay, so he's... Okay, wait. I blacked out. So the priest helped hide the body?
They don't ever say. They don't say. They don't go on. Right. They don't go into it. There's one of two options, in my opinion. He either helped hide the body or was trying to uphold the integrity of the church.
Because that's just crystal clean.
Right. And not allow a search of the premises without the proper warrants, because the police didn't have that at the time.
But then they brought charges against him? Is that what you said?
No, they didn't. They never say that they did. I don't think that they did, though.
Oh, justice for claps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know. So there we are.
Wow.
Ew.
Yuck.
Yeah.
The hair thing is very creepy.
You know what's funny is the moment we started talking about him cutting the hair off, whatever image I had of, what's his name? Danilo? Whatever image I had of him, gone. And it was Crispin Glover in my brain from Charlie's Angels. Creepy thin man.
And he like...
God.
It's so good. He's so good. But
love Crispin Glover. What a little weirdo.
Everyone should. This is now just a Crispin Glover appreciation podcast. It was supposed to be an Anton Yelchin appreciation podcast, but I'm okay with it being Crispin Glover.
That's so sad.
Well, way to bring it way down, Megan. Thanks so much.
Anyways, welcome back.
We were talking about murder.
That's so true.
Murder. God, but yeah, sweet Anton.
Yeah.
All right, well.
There's
no transition to the end of that. Well, thanks for coming back on and joining us, Megan.
Thanks, Migs.
We'll definitely have you back. For everyone, like, subscribe, download, whatever the kids say, share, rate, review, whatever. And join us next week for another episode of Criminal Gines.
Bum, bum, bum.